Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Pratt, and I am a solution consultant with Echo Consulting. Myself and Molly here, our CEO at Echo Consulting, are here to co-host What's New in Smartsheet. So we are a Smartsheet aligned partner and do various implementations for many different client partners. And so on a regular basis, typically quarterly, we like to kind of just host one of these webinars and go through what are the most recent up-to-date kind of features and product releases, new functionality that Smartsheet has come out with. We want to share the best way that you can get that information, and then share with you kind of some of our favorites from the most recent time period, and then also be able to share with you kind of, best practices, tips and tricks, and then also kind of just any gaps or things to be aware of. So if you're able to see my screen, what you're seeing here is Smartsheet's product release page. And this is where you can see the most recent and up-to-date kind of, again, functionality and product release that they've come out with. You can literally just Google Smartsheet product release, and you'll be able to come up to this page. By default, it's going to kind of sort by most recent. So it will show you, what's come out in the last week, 2 weeks, and then you can go all the way back, right? It will show you all months views. So I've already pre-selected some of the pieces or releases that we wanted to share with you all. And I already have these kind of tabs preloaded. So the first one is called Timeline View. So if you're familiar with Smartsheet, and I'll go into a sheet really quickly, actually. Let me flip out of this. If you're familiar with Smartsheet, you know that they have these different views, right? So the typical standard one is the grid view. You can also think of it as a table view, right? Most closely related to what you would see something in Excel. They also have a Gantt view, which is obviously heavily used for project management solutions within Smartsheet. The Gantt view can be very useful and has good functionality for what it's used for, but there has been a gap here in terms of a really timeline view, right? A view that is aesthetically pleasing, something that looks nice, something that you can present to, a business audience that really kind of resonates with users. So I think that's the gap that Smartsheet was thinking about when they came out with timeline view. That doesn't require you to have one of their add-on advanced features. So we'll go through all the other views, but Gantt view is kind of the one that's most closely related. So if I go into timeline view, this is the new timeline view. So you can see right off the bat, it's a lot more visual and aesthetically pleasing. One of the primary differences between this view and the Gantt view is that in the Gantt view, you're going to actually be able to see the rows. I'm sorry, I'll flip back here for a second. You can actually see the rows of data over on the left-hand side, and you can see kind of the dates that it's pulling from and things like that, and you can see both at the same time. In the timeline view, you're really just seeing that. Where are, in this case, we're looking at an intake sheet, which is a list of projects. So where are the projects falling? Where are, the dates and the milestones falling? So I have two different examples for you that I'm going to walk through today. So this is on, I just have a demo environment. This is on our intake sheet. So again, this is just our sheet where we have a list of projects. And it gives us an overview of, the project status information, the timeline of that project, who it's assigned to, things like that. So you can see if I hover over here, you're going to be able to see all of our different projects and what the start and finish date of those projects are. And that's where they're falling in this timeline view. A cool functionality in this timeline view, if you're familiar with Smartsheet reporting, it has grouping, which is kind of similar to what they have in Smartsheet reporting. And in this example, I have it grouped by user. So in this demo environment, you can see these are all the numbers from Echo. And this is showing all of our projects that we've individually assigned to us.
So I think one of the big things here is when you're looking at the Gantt view in the grid, right, you're able to filter but you can't group in a specific way and see the hierarchy. So if you are used to one of the softwares that we implemented, Microsoft Project, right? They have the timeline view up top. If you're familiar with some of the add-ons in Smartsheet, you know that they have the calendar add-on. This is that in between the Gantt view as well as that calendar view with more detail and updating and things like this. We've definitely seen clients taking some of these as screenshots and including these in slide decks. We've definitely seen this in some of the executive reporting. It has some of the same functionality of grids in terms of right now, Kelly is showing a month view, but she could show the exact same timeline view on weeks, days, quarters, and years. So if you're looking at a portfolio basis, you still can use this view. A couple other things that you'll see. So she's grouped this by the owner, and in this case, it's probably like a sponsor, but you can also show an uncategorized lane or a categorized lane. And she actually has a better visual of this in one of the other examples. But in case of that, it's nice to know like if you're missing content or something along those lines. Kelly, can you just show us
it
this?
allows you to Yeah, I can. It also allows you to toggle on and off, which I think is really helpful because potentially you might have data that's just not correctly categorized. And if you're on a meeting or you're trying to show a screenshot, like Molly said, you might not want to show that uncategorized lane. But if it's just you and you're kind of QAing your own data, making sure things are filled in, that can also be really useful. It also does have two different groupings. So I could also group it by phase, for example, if I wanted to see, what projects does Barb have on her plate, and then what phase are they in, and then where does that fall in the timeline? So that's kind of cool too. It goes up to 2 groupings. Before I flip over to the other one, you can also, another functionality I wanted to show is that you can use filters. So just like on the other views, if you're really trying to show a specific set of items on your plan, you can use a filter for that. And I actually have an example of that over here. So this is, if I flip back to the actual grid view, this is just a project plan, right? This is just a demo project plan that I have, and I created 2 different filters to show my timeline view. So the first one that I have here is this is simply showing the phases and then the milestones. So in our plans, we have a column type, we call it task type, and we're able to identify which rows are phases versus milestones versus deliverables and so on. And so this shows that. The diamonds, to answer your question, Jason, are, you literally just showed it. The diamonds are the milestones, and the way you get this to show is the same way that you would in a Gantt view, which is the duration needs to be a 0. And that's what will show the diamonds for you. The second timeline view that I put together, it kind of just demonstrates oops, I think I need to put a group. I put a filter in place, but then I also wanted to group it.
It's because you're showing weeks versus months, I think.
Well, I think I had it showing weeks. Anyway, essentially we have a helper column in our plan here that is showing what phase the tasks are in. So maybe you want to actually see what the tasks are on the plan, but then you want to see them grouped by phase so that they're in kind of the right order. What I've found, like if I'm not using filters, for example, and I'm not using this grouping, it can be somewhat confusing to understand like where things are falling. Molly, I think you spoke to this when we were talking about it, but Smartsheet is automatically kind of deciding what's the best layout for this. Is that how you would say that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different pieces here, right? So like, again, I'm just going to, a different technology, same concept, which is you're not dragging and dropping these bars to be in the place that you want them to be, right? They're auto positioning these bars on here. What's nice is with the Gantt view, you have to have it as a list all in one. So each row is a Gantt. Here you can see that you could have 2, 3, 4 different tasks depending on the timeline, right? to have that. And Kelly showed that with those just using the phases, right? You could actually have a view that's only 1 or 2 lines long, and you can kind of have phases overlapping. But with this, I can't move pilot up or down or something like that and everything regroup. So that's one of the limitations that we'll be curious about as we see Smartsheet continue to develop out this this view. The other piece that's interesting for me, Kelly, is a little bit more about settings and conditional formatting and how that works with the timeline view versus grid. So the conditional formatting that we have is purely based on what we have in the Gantt view and in the project view right now. It's not specific to this view, to my knowledge, Kelly, but as you can see from the message, we are expecting that we'll be able to do additional conditional formatting from the timeline view versus something else. Also,
Yep.
Kelly, if you can just go to settings really quickly, that's the other piece that I like to highlight. So the little gear right next to it, or do you already have that
just
planned?
Before I do that, I just want to call something out before it gets too late. When you said on the auto positioning of the task, since we can't move it, that is why I kind of showed you the way to group data by phase, because let's say you want it to show in that kind of more sequential order going top to bottom in the order of the task by phases. That's a way that you can do that by grouping data. So I just wanted to call that out. But yes, we can go into this settings. Right now, the main setting is just to change the name of what's on the bar here. So I could put like the percentage complete, for example, instead, which that's helpful on the Gantt view, because on the Gantt view, a lot of times I'll use the percentage complete on the bar because you can see the task at the row level right next to it, but here you can't. So I think the task name is going to be what makes most sense in the timeline view. But I just might not have column examples. Molly, if you have any other ideas on what else we would use, but I think task name makes most sense.
No, this is an area, again, when I was down with like the partner forum with Smartsheet, right? We are expecting additional functionality to roll out on this timeline view. There's some stuff that is already in preview and some stuff that is not. So you'll see that if you want to edit the start and end date, so when Kelly hovers over any of these tasks, she can see the name of the task within the bar, but she can also see a start date and end date. For a lot of our clients, we have the baseline start, baseline end, the actual start, the estimated complete, and the actual complete date. So if you need to edit what the start and end date show up when you hover over a piece, that is something that you're actually doing within the grid view, within the Gantt view. So Kelly, if you can just remind everyone.
You can actually edit details from here now.
Oh, no, I apologize. No, I'm referring to configuring what shows up as the start date and the finish date on the task.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. Good call.
Yep. So in the Gantt view, remember how we've called this out before? You have to be in the Gantt view in order to get the settings on here. This is where you're doing the color coding. This is where you're saying what the typical heading is, and this is where you're adding your start date and end date. So this is still important, and this carries over into the timeline view. So this is where the settings is for right now. We anticipate that there will be settings that are specific to timeline, but for now, if you're looking to configure your timeline view, please remember that you're using the Gantt view as your primary. Okay.
Yep. And then, yeah, just to circle back to what I just showed, if you click on a task and then you click on these 3 dots, you can edit the details. And then you can actually make changes to your tasks in this view, which is kind of cool. Doesn't look like you can for the start and finish dates, but for most of the other kind of text and drop down fields, you can.
Yep. Very similar to if you are used to the add-on of the calendar view, very similar concept to some of their add-ons that they're including here. It's nice, Kelly, that they actually gave us notes that something's a formulaic or system column, that they can't edit it. So I do like that they do that. And sometimes Smartsheet, you can't necessarily tell if you can edit it or not. But I like that they at least gave us a notification on that. All right.
Absolutely.
Jason had a question about embedded in the dashboard. Can you just show them the share capabilities right now? I have not seen this on a dashboard yet, Kel.
So it looks like, I don't know, I don't think that you can share it on a dashboard. The share capabilities right now is just if you can, this is just kind of like sharing on the sheet level. It doesn't look like there's an option where you can share it on the dashboard. I've only seen where it shows the grid view. So I don't think there's that option right now.
Jason, why don't you go ahead and test that while we continue on with the webinar, and we can give people an update a little bit later on. Go ahead, Kel.
Perfect. Okay, so that's all I have for timeline view. If anyone has any questions, feel free to chat in our meeting chat. The next item I wanted to share is they have recently released dashboard color themes. So this is really, really helpful for a lot of teams to not need to work on specific color coordinating within their dashboards. Now, some of the clients that we work with will prefer to apply their own branding to their dashboard, which is super helpful. Smartsheet's always had a pretty good kind of UI for putting in specific color codes and then being able to update your title widgets and all of your chart widgets and stuff. I think the dashboard color themes are particularly helpful for some of our smaller clients or even clients that just don't really have the capacity to be going through and custom branding every single dashboard that they make. So I'm going to go into this current user dashboard demo that I have and just show you how easy it is. So if I click on this pencil in the top right-hand corner, how you edit a dashboard typically, there's this dashboard theme icon that's new here. And you can update the background color and the widget background color, which I think has been around for a while, but now they have 9 different themes that you can apply for your dashboard. So I'll just take you through a few of them. So you can see standard, it updates kind of the title part of the widget with the text color, and it also even updates the series of colors in your charts. If I change it to rainbow, save it so you can kind of like see the differences. It even on this one is changing the background color. So my background color was white before and it's changed it to gray for that color theme. Additionally, they have some dark color themes, which is nice for a different change. They have a few different dark ones. And again, I'll just scroll down here. You can see how the different series colors changes. And then another cool thing is once you save that dashboard theme, if you go to edit some of the dashboard widgets, it will automatically give you that kind of color set from that specific dashboard theme. So if you still want to use the overall theme but customize specific pieces, you're able to do that because it gives you all those color codes automatically by being on that dashboard theme.
Couple call outs, Kelly. I love your positivity on this. As Kelly mentioned, several of our clients prefer to do their own branding. A couple of the things that we've noticed is that if you do click on a theme, it can overwrite the branding and be difficult to revert. So that is something to be aware of. If you're testing, we do recommend testing on, something that's not live and that might require rework. The other piece is that while we're very excited that Smartsheet gave us those 9 kind of out-of-the-box branding, one of the things that we're looking forward as they continue to expand out their enterprise security and administration capabilities is to be able to create a specific template set of colors, much like Microsoft does and things like that, that is specific to your organization that can then be selected and or enforced across the organization. So we're loving that now they have those out of the box ones. We're especially seeing that as a great tool for some of our smaller clients. For some of our enterprise clients that have specific branding needs, we are looking forward to the ability to be able to set kind of our own theme and be able to enforce that theme. So more to come, but we are excited about the progress we're seeing, and this is the first step in the direction that we'd like to see them go.
Yep, absolutely. And Molly, I know this is a feature that hasn't fully released yet. If you're in the early adopters program for Smartsheet, you might see some additional features that aren't on the product release news page. But another dashboard update that we know is coming is wide for full width dashboards. I know you're at the partner forum. Do you want to speak to that update a little bit that's coming down the pipe?
Yes. So if you've ever been frustrated with all the space in the sides and not being able to use it, they will be rolling out a widescreen. Honestly, it's already in preview and some people are already using it. It's not what I call backwards compatible. It doesn't automatically update your existing dashboards, which is good. That's what we would like to see, which is if the dashboard is currently configured to be the current screen size, that's great. It is still going to be mobile friendly and things like that. If you're familiar now with their dashboards, you'll know that they automatically order what shows up in the mobile view. There's no control from the front end standpoint of which which widgets show up first on mobile, but we do anticipate that the widescreen view will be fully mobile compatible at all screen sizes. So whether or not it's a phone for your executive, a tablet on site, or something like that, it will be fully compatible. So whether you're on a lap screen, desktop, or mobile device. Yeah, don't worry about it. If you really like your current screen width and dashboards, it will not apply and break any formatting on your existing dashboards. It will be a future-facing change that will be an option if you were to make edits to a dashboard and want to make changes. For us, we're really excited about it for any of our dashboards that have reports that we'd like to be able to show more columns on. You might have experienced that you're putting in a report and maybe you need to decrease a column width or something like that by going to the individual report and making those changes. That's something else that we're hoping for in the next little bit, is some not just widescreen, but some better visualizations for some of our wider and larger data sets.
Awesome. Thanks, Molly. Perfect. All right. So I got my next item queued up here for product release. So something that they released in the middle of March is really an attempt to create a better navigation experience for users. So previous to this, essentially, if you were in a sheet itself, if you wanted to get to other sheets within that workspace or folder that you're in, it could be a little bit difficult to navigate. Now, a quick tip or trick that we commonly use is we go to File and go to Properties, and you can kind of see the breadcrumbs is what we call it, like the set of structure that, you know, your sheet or report or dashboard lives in, and then you can navigate easily to something within that space. But if you weren't using that, then you would have to like go back to browse, and it takes you to this whole new, you know, this whole workspace navigation piece. And sometimes it would be hard to get to where you're trying to go. So they released this new navigation, which is right here. So you can see it kind of pops out from the side. It doesn't show you every single workspace that is shared to you, every single folder that you've accessed, but it just shares the experience of as if you were in the folder or workspace that you're currently in. So you can see here in this example, this intake sheet was within this Kelly demo workspace. And so it's showing me the other sheets and then the folders within this sheet. I don't know if I can really put my finger on why. I just do know that clients we've worked with have been a little bit confused by it. And even when it first came out, it was kind of confusing to me and not as intuitive as you might think, but it is still a way to get to, you know, other assets within, again, the folder that you're in a little bit easier.
A little bit less overwhelming. If you've been with Smartsheet for a while, you know that navigation is kind of one of their key things that they're still working out. Their browse navigation, that folder structure, is a very familiar one. That is a holdover from the 90s and SharePoint and other you know, document management systems. If you are familiar, they attempted to solve this problem with WorkApps, which is a purely custom and role-based permissioning, but it did require a separate administration, as it were, to be able to have a custom nav. This browse functionality, this solution view, is a way to streamline without having to have a custom management of the navigation. And so I think it is a option for people that are not going to go to a WorkApp scenario where they are managing navigation by roles, because it does really follow your existing patterns, your existing model. For some of our clients that manage their entire program or portfolio or business function within a single workspace, this can be extremely valuable to keep them in one place versus, you know, having to go back and forth in that browse functionality. I do like the fact, Kelly, that you can open it in browse. So Kelly was showing in File that we end up going to Properties to see where in the space it is. If you are within this intake sheet and you don't necessarily know what workspace you're in, you can click open in browse and it's going to take you right to that in browse, which I appreciate. I think it's a little bit of an easier experience than previously. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so the next update that I have is faster loading sheet picker in dashboard. So I think previously it was taking a little bit too long to, and a little bit like clunky to find the sheets or reports that you're looking for to add to dashboards. So this is another, attempt and update to make it a little bit easier. So essentially what that looks like is like if I were to, let me go to this and add a report. Click on the add report. This is just a new search kind of capability than they had previous. And it allows you to search whatever report you might be looking for. And then it's going to show you, where the report lives. So it's really easy to see, but without needing to actually go in and expand the different workspaces and folders that something might live, right? So some of these reports might live within a workspace, within a folder, within another folder. And in the previous experience, you might have to actually be expanding those sections to get to it, especially if the search function wasn't working to find what you wanted. This is a better search functionality. It's producing faster results, and it's showing you, again, kind of those breadcrumbs. Like I said, there's not links there, but it shows you exactly where this item lives, so you can be sure that you're selecting the right one. For me, I know sometimes I name things similarly, even if I'm working across different projects or things. So I might have different versions of almost the same report titled the same. So this is really, really helpful, again, to make sure that I'm grabbing the right one because I know it's from the right workspace for the right team or user.
Kelly, while you're on the concept of search, there have been several updates recently on search or within the last year. So again, some of these people just don't necessarily notice the change. If you click on search here, right?
Yeah, and just to call out, it actually used to be in the top right-hand corner, and I didn't see this in the release notes, but now it's over here in the nav bar, so that's already one update that I just want to call out. But go ahead, Molly.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh. So here, when Kelly searches, if she asks the same search that she did before, right? She has some additional capabilities if she's just searching from the general search, right? So she can filter down, for example, to only look at dashboards or only look at reports or only look at certain things. She can also now narrow it down to specific workspaces, which is hugely, hugely helpful. So Echo, as a professional services provider, we might do current user dashboards for a majority of our clients. And so searching by current user doesn't really help us a lot. So now we can actually narrow it down to a specific location and specific time frame. All of these things are ways to make it easier for us to find what we need to find. And so they keep adding additional search capability and keep making it faster. So just like they just updated the dashboard capabilities before, you had to navigate to it in the same way browse. You had to click on which workspace, click on which folder, and click to get there. Now you can search. We anticipate that search will continue to be more and more global, and the experience for search will continue to be more and more consistent across all of the pages and functionalities at Smartsheet. But they're taking that one step at a time to be respectful of their infrastructure and their experience and things like that. You'll notice some of those things too. Kelly is in a preview version, but even in her share capabilities, you'll see that they're starting to make some updates to that concept as well. And that is reminiscent of even some of the changes that we anticipate for some of their licensing and role-based permissioning changes that are coming.
Yeah, I could see this last updated filter being particularly helpful, even more so than these other ones, just because oftentimes, at least for me, and I know for a lot of users, when you're building a dashboard, you might realize, oh, I need this report. And then you go build the report and then you come back to the dashboard to edit it. So if you can do that in the last 24 hours, even before maybe you search for it by report or by location, it's already going to give you a really good grouping, right, of what you were just working on. So it's going to be much easier and much faster to find that. So I personally love that one. And it's cool that you can reset your filters too.
I love the sort by, right? Like you can actually sort by when it was last updated. So you don't even have to say when it was. You can literally say what was most recently updated. And so I think that's, yep. Now, in this case, Kelly, it's also respecting your filters. But if you come in here and you don't want to do all the filters, you can literally just sort by last updated if you don't need to add the other one. So it's even faster.
Yep.
So, all right.
Cool. All right. My next update that I wanted to share, this is a really cool one. So Smartsheet is starting to release new capabilities using AI. And so this one is the ability to get data insights into some of your data. So I'm going to go back into my intake sheet. I'm going to use the browse function and go to, let's see if I can find it. There we go. Intake sheet. I'm going to go to my grid view. Okay, so over here on the navigation bar over to the right, there's this option to generate with AI tools. And I'm going to click on this analyze data. I actually don't know, maybe someone on my team can tell me if these are available to everyone. Molly kind of mentioned it. I am in an early adopter program, so sometimes I might see things that not everybody sees. But the analyze data, I know everybody should be able to see it because it's in the product release notes. So you can pretty much just ask this anything and ask for it to produce you either an answer or a chart. So for example, I could say, how many of my projects have an overall project health status? Now I know in this example, I can see that very quickly, but there may be other situations where you have a very large sheet and you don't want to go through and have to highlight and find that count. And so you can literally just ask it that question and it will, you'll see in a second here, it will produce that answer for you. Oh, well, maybe a little bit of a bug because I'm seeing 1 and it's showing 0. How many projects have an overall project health status of green? We'll try that and see if the green works. I'm not sure why the yellow didn't. And then next I'm going to do, you can also ask it to produce a chart for you. So that's really cool too. So it's showing 12 green. There are 12 green. So that's great. I'm not sure why it didn't show yellow, but it does allow you to explain this result. I counted the number of projects that you own and have an overall project. Okay. Again, you can ask it to produce a chart for you. So show me a chart of projects by phase. While this is loading, anyone on my team, I don't know if Jason or Kiefer or JP, if you guys are not on the early adopter program, I'd be curious if you guys can see the formula and other tools in the insights. If you guys could just chat that, that'd be helpful. Cool. So you can see here, here's a little chart that shows all of the projects by what phase they're in.
And if we think about how this is rolled out for other work management platforms, this is Smartsheet, but just recognizing that Smartsheet is in an ecosystem of work management software. We are seeing the next steps after this generating to be able to export the report, to be able to add this to a dashboard, the ability to, right? So like, the ability to pre-populate based on the recommended chart. So if you know what happened originally, Smartsheet actually rolled out what was called Work Insights. And so if you go just 2 up, Kelly, I believe that was Work Insights. And with Work Insights, they started to talk about trends in your data where they're actually pulling, right, what their trends are. So using kind of that advanced intelligence, instead of you having to ask for something, they're recommending information on there. And what we would expect is that some of those insights, some of those trends, some of that analysis, everything will then be able to be added to a dashboard. So again, just talking about from other technology standpoint, the steps of progression of these tools. So the initial one is to be able to ask for it, then to be able to export the report in the way that you would want to see it. And then the next piece is the ability to actually add it to a dashboard or export it to a dashboard or something along those lines. So that's what we're looking to see. Sorry, it's taking a while, Kelly, but we are excited about this. Yeah. The Work Insights piece is also available, not just an individual sheet level, but as a platform as a whole basis. So you're going to see more and more Work Insights from the admin panel about what's going on and what your users are doing within the Smartsheet platform. And honestly, part of it is like, you know, what sheets are being used and who's using it and how frequently and things like that. So you're going to be able to start getting some analytics about how people work and the state of work, not just exactly what the data shows. So I'm excited about the progression that I see in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what's cool about the Work Insights, I know it is taking a while to load, so I don't know if we'll get it to, but it provides an initial kind of set of charts and data, like you said, things that it recommends, and then you can also add, like ask it to add an additional component, or you can change the data it's comparing to. Like maybe it's looking at one column and you want it to look at another. It's looking at status, but you want it to look at task type or something along those lines. That's cool. And then layered on top of that, now they have the AI tools. The release doesn't include these other pieces. Kiefer mentioned he sees them, so it might not just be early adopter. So if you see here, you might be able to see these other AI items. And they're moving towards allowing you to generate formulas, which can be really, really helpful. Again, haven't used it a lot in practice yet, so we'll definitely revisit this on a future what's new in Smartsheet. But really, really helpful for users who are just not as comfortable with formulas, but still need to be able to get them. Or even if you are a pro at formulas, we write formulas all the time and still we get stuck. So it's great that there's this tool now that you can ask the AI tool and it provide you, a formula back. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, it's usually also probably going to give you a step in the right direction. And then the other piece is that it's going to be able to draft summaries based on your sheet data as well. We're seeing that in a lot of other softwares, like Microsoft has that, right? For, sorry, Molly, you're going to be able to speak to the tool name better than I don't know if it's Loop or if it's another tool, but they're going to, or Copilot maybe in Microsoft where, it listens to a meeting and it's going to be able to provide you meeting notes. Obviously, this isn't based on meeting software, but it's the same type of idea where it's able to look at a set of data versus the meeting content and provide a summary of what that data is showing. So that's also really cool. Something that we
all know that different people learn differently, right? So some people just want to see the graphics. Some people want to dig into the data. Some people want it to be told to them. Some people want to be able to read it in a report, right? There's a lot of different ways. And I like the fact that Smartsheets, a lot of people are intimidated by the grid and it doesn't make them feel good. They like the card view. They like the timeline view versus a Gantt. Different people interact with data and take information in a different way. And I like the fact that we have some flexibility. I have seen some of the new tools about formulas and where that is. If you think about the progression, right, it was kind of individual formulas, then kind of a formula toolkit. Similar concept to automations, Kelly, right? At first we kind of had, just start from scratch automations. Then they started saying, hey, here are some popular and suggested automations. I would expect to see the same roadmap for this formula tool. And that's what I'm seeing in other software, which is very much being here's a suggested formula. Here's a formula. Now use natural language and tell me what you want. And it's going to try to get you there. Even if it doesn't get you 90 or 100% of the way there, it can help with troubleshooting. It can also help you get started and help honestly feed some ideas to you in the same way you were talking about with Work Insights of something you didn't think about. So as a consultant, one of the things we do is very much look out and see all the different partners and all the different clients we're working with, and it gives us ideas that we can help cross-pollinate and hive knowledge, making this more accessible to end users with some of these tools where they can get some of that hive knowledge from the community right at their fingertips. So very excited about where this is going.
Absolutely. That's awesome. A couple of other product releases that I wanted to call out. These are for some of our advanced features or some of Smartsheet's advanced features. Not really a lot to show other than what's in here, but essentially Smartsheet has, a host of add-on tools, and they're very well connected and integrated within the Smartsheet core app, but it is a different kind of web page and workflow configuration that you use. And if there are, an example is data mesh in the Pivot app, if there are ever errors with your configuration, your workflow that's supposed to run, you as the owner would receive an email saying that there's an error. Well, previous to about a month ago, Data Shuttle, which is one that we use quite often with our clients, as well as Data Table, which is newer than Data Shuttle, did not have those error notifications. So unfortunately, you'd either need to, periodically check your Data Shuttle configurations, or if you notice something was wrong with the data, you might dig in and identify that something was wrong. They do now have, they call them error notifications being sent via email to the owner. So you can see an example here in the release notes. which is fantastic. This is really important, especially if you're building a whole host of workflows, like a large number, for example. It's really important to be able to get those notifications if something's not working right and not worry about having to manage it. We want to be able to set it up and then let it do the work for you, which is what it's really designed to do. Molly, those are the highlights that I had for product releases. Was there anything I didn't touch on that you wanted to share or talk about?
I don't think so. I always like to leave plenty of time for questions and things like that. If you don't mind, Kelly, I'd love to grab just a moment to do a quick plug. So Echo Consulting, our clients are national and even global, but we do have offices in Burlington, Vermont, and we are going to be hosting our first ever Smartsheet meetup. And that's going to not just be for our clients, although we're certainly inviting our clients, but people can come to Hula, our offices. We'll have a big conference room space, and we'll be doing a little bit more in-depth conversation about some of the kind of key tips and tricks and solution building in Smartsheet. We will certainly have content available, but it will be driven as much as possible by the users that are in the group. And we are hoping to have that meetup available on a quarterly basis moving forward, and we'll be hosting that. We might even have a Smartsheet rep in attendance as well. We'll have to see. Depends on how many attendees we get. But if you're interested, you can subscribe to Echo and get these notifications automatically. However, we also have the event RSVP available. I'll just share my screen really quickly for anyone that's interested. So you're looking at the Echo Consulting website. You'll see that we have a resource center with upcoming events, templates, worksheets, our video library, etc. And so you'll see here that there is a Smartsheet meetup. We're going to be at our offices in Burlington, Vermont. It's free. Everyone is welcome. Just send us your information and we'll send you some details. I'll also just mention, Kelly, like we're turning 5 this year. And so right after our first ever Smartsheet meetup, we're actually going to be having our 5th anniversary party. And again, we'll be inviting out both our clients, our partners, our community, etc., but celebrating 5 years with Echo. So if you are interested in coming to the meetup, please also consider staying and celebrating with us as we continue to build community. If you are interested in getting more information about Smartsheet and about the services we provide, and or just getting notified that new videos are posting every single day, every single week, please don't hesitate to subscribe, and we'll go ahead and get you on that mailing list to get notified when new Smartsheet videos are available, new tips and tricks. We recently became a Microsoft 365 partner. We're doing some really awesome things, Kelly, between Smartsheet and Microsoft. We also are rolling out our integration with Stralign, our strategic alignment, idea management, project prioritization tool, and integrating it with Smartsheet as well as Microsoft 365. So don't hesitate to reach out, subscribe, get more information. If you'd like to meet with Kelly or I, definitely let us know, and we'll go ahead and get that on the calendar for you. So thank you guys for attending the webinar. And
we'll be
Kelly,
here next quarter.
Yes, we'll get this scheduled for next quarter as well. So please don't hesitate. When you opt into a webinar, I think you get the option to opt in to subscribe. So if you did that, you will get a notification about the next Smartsheet webinar as well.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, everybody.